with the ever enigmatic
Shaz Nawaz. Assalamu alaikum and good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Well, it's hot.
It is very, very hot, but it'll be
I
fine.
wouldn't go that far.
Well, I know you wouldn't, but I would.
In fact, let me rephrase that. It's nice and warm.
No. I stand by my statement.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Very, very hot.
And as Robin Williams once said in Good Morning Vietnam, it's hot and wet. It's fine if you were a lady. Ain't no good if you're in the jungle. I do love that.
See, I
film.
never remember these quotes. I know you're good at these, but
It's
until I'm reminded.
It's a talent. It's a skill. But not everyone has. I do.
Oh, so you have a
sometimes.
talent that we've learned about today.
Yeah, just the one. If you have a talent and you want to get in touch with the studio, you can call us on 01733 602 133, or you can text us on 07411 191062, or you can comment on any of our live streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or
X.
X, yeah, the artist formerly known as Twitter.
What's the reason behind X? See, you usually know the answer to these things.
I normally
don't.
do. Elon does have a reason for it. I can't remember what it was though. I remember reading about it. He has given a reason for it, but
Nothing to do with SpaceX?
he might be putting all of his IPs into one cohesive line, I guess. Yeah. But then what does he do with Tesla?
Call that X as well? No.
X cars.
Yeah.
Not sure about that.
Yeah. He'll come up with something.
I'm sure he will, and I'm sure it'll be fantastic.
As it usually is, in a roundabout way, when it comes to his business acumen.
Yeah. So, this week on Wealth Made Simple, let's discuss money. But not just any money. We're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into money as in cash monies. Cash monies makes me rich. And cashlessness. And are we heading, is it inevitable that we're heading towards a cashless society? Is that where we're headed? Or does cash still have a place? And that's what this week's going to be all about.
Whoever thought, anybody my age or older possibly, that cash would disappear slowly but surely? Hasn't disappeared yet, but
No, not yet.
possibly, you know? Or reduce significantly.
I mean, I think there's a degree of control that will that governments gain by taking away cash. But I think to begin with, we need to ascertain why cash has value.
Well, cash has no value, Kieran. It's just an implied value. Because if you look at a £5 note or a £10 note, it says something like, I promise to pay the bearer upon demand. Right? And in the old days, you could take that £5 note or whatever denomination to the Bank of England, for example, and say, can I have, here's this promise, can I have something in return? And in a roundabout way, you're supposed to get some gold back.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way. Today, you give them a £5 note and they say, okay, yeah, give that to us, and here you go. Here's a new, freshly printed £5 note for you. So,
Or £5 coins.
yeah, for £5 coins or something else. So it doesn't have any physical value, but it has an implied value that everybody agrees to. And without going into detail and boring everybody, you know, back in the day, okay, in the Wild West, people used to exchange stuff without any cash.
Yeah, I mean that's how bartering
Yeah,
works.
bartering, exactly. Yeah, so
know?
you had something and I had something, and I wanted that something that you've got. You don't want something that I've got, so we used to reach some kind of a compromise. It was all very long-winded.
I'll fix your roof if you make sure
Whatever,
that,
yeah.
you know, you install my
Yeah,
door.
yeah.
Sort of thing.
Oh, you've got a sheep and I've got a cat or whatever, and then I'm saying to you, I want your sheep and you can have a cat, or you can have 3 cats or whatever, the equivalent, for example. and you said, no, I don't want cats, I want 2 dogs in return. So then I've got to go and find 2 dogs from somewhere and then exchange them for the cats and then come back. And then by that time, you exchanged your sheep with somebody else who had 2 dogs and I wanted to give them away and you wanted to take them. It seems very long-winded, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
To
just
get to where you wanted to get to. And then cash came along and then he said, everybody agreed that this has an implied value, and then it just made transactions so much easier. It carried on for a long time.
Yeah, it really
Cash was
did.
a lot for a long time. So.
The origins of cash as as an actual store of wealth go back. I mean, we're talking pre-Christian times. There was a store. Gold has had intrinsic value for many peoples across history. I mean, look at the ancient Egyptians. They buried themselves with vast amounts.
The pharaohs,
of gold and jewels, and and they operated on a 2-tier system. Gold has value, so therefore I will trade you so much gold, and that was kind of the first form of cash. And then people still bartered 3 camels for 2 donkeys, sort of thing. So it depended on how wealthy you were back then as to whether or not you actually had access to cash, because you needed direct access to gold. Because historically, and this has only changed relatively recently, and when I say relatively recently, I'm talking the last 50 odd years or so, that money, cash, has always been traded against the value of gold, and that's where the value has always come from. Until I can't remember when it was, but it was, I think America did it first. They started printing more money than they had access to gold stores, so they devalued the dollar against the gold so that it's still all lined up, and then they went away from gold entirely. Brief history of cash there.
No, we might do a U-turn. We might go back to gold as a standard.
We might.
Which would be interesting. And there are some countries who are stockpiling gold.
For that very reason.
Yeah, that's right. Because they can see what's coming ahead. And then we're obviously moving over to digital currency, which is what we're talking about. And we're going to go into that in some detail in a while. But it'd be good to have some input from any of our listeners and viewers to see what they think. Should cash carry on? Or is cash a bad thing?
Is love to hear from
cash a good thing? But the way that the whole thing has evolved with online banking and cards, and now it's on your phone with Google Pay and Apple Pay and all that kind of stuff, and you can just swipe your phone everywhere. What's interesting, Kieron, is when I went to Disney World for the first time, I think I told you before, I caught on straight away, and
well, that's because you're a very intelligent person.
I observe how they do stuff, because they are phenomenal at doing one thing, and one thing better than anybody else that I've seen.
Separating their punters from their wallets.
Yeah, are good at extracting cash.
Yes.
And at one point, there was no other business who could outdo Vegas per square foot, per square inch, in terms of dollar per head. Okay. And the only company that I know that did it was Disney.
Yeah.
Now that says something. So one place you've got people who are locked in a room. They can't see if it's light or dark outside. No windows, usually. No clocks. Okay.
Specific smells being pumped in. I mean, the psychology of how to get people to spend money. Vegas
absolutely.
has spent millions.
I read this whole book about how the whole thing was designed, or how casinos are designed. Phenomenal. Somebody recommended it to me while I was on a conference in America. We're talking about this, and just how they've placed stuff. So whether you turn left or right or forward or back or whatever, there's a fruit machine or something to entice you. And then when you sit down, whether you're gambling or not. So I've been to Vegas twice, and I've never gambled. It's the one thing I've always stayed away from, because I just saw this is a zero-sum game.
Yes, okay? It really is. The house always wins.
Yeah, I mean, it's not aligned to my own particular values, as you know. But when you just sit there and observe what's going on, because I mean, whether you're playing
cards
or blackjack or whatever, okay? I don't know how any of them will work. As you know, sometimes I don't even know how people play poker. Never been interested, but just see what are people doing, because I like to observe.
Yeah.
And they'll come over and then give you some free drinks and give you some free food. And say, but I'm not gambling. Okay, don't worry. Here you go. You can have some while you're sat at the table. So they're giving you loads of free drinks just to get to the point. So people are intoxicated or relaxed, loosened up. And on the other side at Disney, you're not getting no free drinks. You're paying for everything. And you're spending more than you, on average, than people do in Vegas. You know, you have to be remarkable at that, yeah?
You've got to be, I mean, given the fact that, like you say, in Vegas, you've got free food, free drinks, there's a whole atmosphere.
Limousines, helicopters, yachts, airplanes, depending on how much you're gambling tonight or this weekend, yeah?
Very carefully crafted to extract money from you.
Yeah. The bigger you are, the bigger the whale. They call them whales, the big spenders. Okay, the bigger the whale, the more they're going to do for you. They'll send a jet and go and pick Kieron up from wherever he is and bring him over here, because we know he's spending or betting 10, 15, 20 million dollars plus this weekend.
Yeah.
Because they know they're going to get that money from you. So to do that, it takes a remarkable amount of effort.
And outdo that takes an even more remarkable.
Absolutely. So what they did was they had these wristbands. They give you a wristband, and then every time you see something, all you do is you just swipe the wristband, a bit like you do with your phones nowadays. This is well before the phones had caught on to that. And people are merrily and happily buying. And the ones who are a little bit naive to the whole thing, okay, little Johnny or Sarah says, Mummy or Daddy, can I have a wristband too? And they think, oh, this is good fun. You can have one too. And guess what little Johnny and Sarah are doing? They're swiping wherever they can,
priority passes to amusements.
Balloons, the whole lot. So, I mean, I don't remember the price now, but a small balloon is, let's say, $75. I don't remember the exact figure. Medium-sized balloon is $150, and the big one is $300. For a balloon with Mickey Mouse on it. Do you know what I mean? Kids are...
But you can't be angry, Shaz, because
no, I'm not.
This is the happiest place in the world.
And when you go back the second time, what they say to you?
Welcome home.
Welcome home. That's right.
Welcome home to the happiest place on earth.
And they very quickly figured out that there's a pain of disconnect when you put your hand in your pocket and take cash out and you're going to spend it. There's a little bit of pain, okay, depending on how much that money means to you, to disconnect, give that money away. Credit card, there's less pain, so you're more likely to spend more money on your credit card because the bill comes at the end of the month and we'll deal with it. It's later. Okay?
That's tomorrow me's problem.
Exactly. And then now you stick it on your phone, so you don't even have to get your credit card out because everybody usually got their phone closer to them and they have their credit card. Okay, I'm just waiting for the wristband to come out because it'll be even easier because you got to reach for your pocket or put the phone in your pocket to get it out. So there's a little bit of effort and pain there. Whereas if with
your wristband, you mean your Apple Watch?
If that does it, there you go. Then I don't have one of those, as you know. So yeah. So if that's
you've got a much nicer watch. Not that I'm jealous. Yeah. Anyone listening?
Yeah, but there you go. So if that's happening, then there you go.
Yeah, on your smartwatch, you can have your Google Pay, your Apple Pay.
You can just do there.
And the nice thing about Apple Pay and Google Pay is that it doesn't have the same contactless limit that your card has. Your card's limited to £100. Apple Pay doesn't have that.
Yeah, and it's going to go up though, but by the £100 become 150, 200, whatever, 250, it'll go up.
They're making people comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and they get used to it, and I just like when online banking came, people say, "Oh, I don't want to go online. Somebody's going to hack into my stuff." Well, now, pretty much most people.
Let's not talk about hacking.
I know.
That hurts.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Now people happily and merrily log in online and go. Obviously, use online banking, but so Disney figured out well before most people that cash had some level of pain when you're disconnecting with it. So they went down a different path, and as we said, money has an implied value, and now we just use cards and other facilities like online transfers. Which do the same job. So people say, why have cash? And it's become harder now, Kieron. So, back in the day when I started my accountancy practice, people used to go into a bank either every day or every other day or every Friday. Let's say they've got a shop or a restaurant or whatever, which gets cash, and banking their money, and the bank will charge you a certain amount per cash transaction.
Yeah.
Well, that figure for taking in cash now is a lot higher than it was 25 odd years ago.
Well, I mean, my grandparents and my grandfather, used to go to the bank once a month. And he would withdraw how much he felt he needed for the month, and that was it, done. That was all he had. He never once looked at his bank balance again. And he ended up in a fairly high powered job. He wasn't struggling by the when he retired by any sense of the word. But part of that was because when he withdrew the cash, he'd calculated how much he needed down to the penny. And I mean, I remember going with him as a kid, and it really confused me that he would take out, for example, £152.37. He knew to the penny how much he was going to spend that month,
And he stuck to it.
And he stuck
That's
to
called
it.
discipline.
Absolutely did.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
to the penny.
Yeah,
Stuck to it.
We should talk a different conversation about being disciplined and managing money and investing money and all that kind of stuff, which I think we covered
But
a bit.
he never once wanted to use a card.
Yeah.
It was cash only.
Yeah, and it wasn't as popular in those days.
No.
But yeah, to have that discipline, which people don't have nowadays with credit cards and plastic.
But it's going back to what you were saying earlier. It's that disconnect of separating when you've got £100 in cash in your hand. That's £100, and someone says, "Okay, give that to me." Why? No, I want to keep it.
Absolutely.
Whereas someone says, "Oh, don't forget you owe me £100. Just swipe the card." Oh, bing. You don't see it, so you don't feel it.
So
It's invisible.
Yeah, exactly. And coming back to the bank. So now the bank charges you a lot more to bank the same amount of cash. So people are less willing to bank cash. Therefore, they're less willing to take cash. Therefore, they take credit cards. Okay? So cash is diminishing. And I've lost count now the amount of places I go to which says card only.
Yeah.
I mean, you see a few, by the way, they say cash only.
Well, yeah.
But most of them, card only, we only accept card.
Yeah. And
So they're making it more accessible and, in fact, forcing you to use a card.
they are, but there's also, and we'll get into our pros and cons list soon. But when you break it down, and a lot of advocates for cash, and there are a fair few people out there that advocate heavily for cash and to keep using cash, and one of the main reasons is if I give you a £20 note, then you go and get a haircut, and you give your barber that £20 note, then he goes to the takeaway and he gives the restaurant owner £20, and then the restaurant owner takes that £20, comes back to you, applies for your services, that costs him £20, gives you that £20 is £20 at every transaction.
So long as it's not banked, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, as long as it remains cash, that £20 is £20 is £20 is £20. If you do that on card, do the same thing with the card
You're losing
fees.
it with the fees, yeah.
I pay you £20, but 1.5% of that goes to the banking fees.
Yep.
So now you've got £18, something
What
and
is it,
change.
yeah.
Then you pay £20 because you're still spending that same £20 in inverted commas to your barber.
And same again and again and again.
you're getting it until you get to there's been that many transactions, and this is where we're rapidly approaching that of the original £20 there's nothing left.
Yeah, after and set number of transactions. Yeah.
There's literally nothing left. You're paying with the bank's money,
So the bank wins.
and then the bank is charging you to use their money because they've charged you to use your money. Now they're charging you even more to use their money.
Nice system
And-
if you're at the top.
Oh, it's a beautiful system if you're at the
Isn't it?
top.
Yeah.
Very few of us sit at the top of that system, though.
Yeah, that's right. That's a conversation for a different day. How to get to the top.
How to get to the top. And
We'll
stay
let you
there.
know when we figured it out.
Yeah, as soon as I figured it out, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I think the way to get to the top is find something that everybody needs and nobody can live without. And then just keep increasing how badly they need it and how much you're charging for it.
And make it easy to use.
And make it
accessible,
frictionless.
Yeah.
Absolutely frictionless.
And so that then gets us to a place where I think, as you've said, governments have been keen to promote digital transactions because it leaves a footprint.
But they're not so keen on cryptocurrencies, are they?
No, they're not. Because they don't have a full handle and control over the whole thing.
Which is interesting. Which is interesting. Regulation is coming, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be fooled any other way. Regulation is coming. Heavy regulation.
Just like anything.
Because it's going to have to.
Yeah, they do.
Whenever something new starts out, before it gets widely adopted by the masses, you have the early adopters who, stand to gain a lot or lose a lot, depending on the way the wind blows. And then you start getting widespread adoption, mass adoption. But I guarantee you the regulations are in before mass adoption.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It comes in.
Because the government want their slice of the pie. Cut. They want their cut.
Yeah, and the transparency, as they call it, and exposure over what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to happen. But so we've moved from cash to card, I think pretty rapidly if you think about it, because cash was in for centuries.
Well, I think,
and card wasn't in for decades.
Yeah.
Okay, in comparison, and it's just taken over in the last 20 years, especially, even the last 10, 15 years, okay? With the ease of the phones and everything else that we kind of touched on.
Technology is on a hockey stick curve, isn't it? And, you've got small incremental gains, but because they compound, you go, and the same with
there's that law of doubling, isn't it? What's that called?
Yeah.
I can't remember now.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Person's name, yeah. Parkinson. Yeah. Is it Parkinson? No, Parkinson. Something else. Where it doubles.
Yeah.
At a particular speed and pace.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening here. So why cash and why not cash and why card and why not card, Kieran?
Well, I think cash has some intrinsic benefits that I think we should probably cover, because cash is something that
cash is king.
Well, cash is king. Yeah, we hear that a lot.
Was it king?
Cash flow is king. But that's a slightly different topic. But cash also is a protection of privacy. If I give you that £20 note we were talking about earlier, who knows that I've given you £20 note?
Only the giver and the recipient.
Right. So there's privacy there. If I send you digitally £20,
there's an audit trail.
There's an audit trail.
Which is what governments want.
Yeah. And I'm not against that. I think
depends what it is. I mean, you're talking about massive amount of money moving, and there's some money laundering event taking place, or drug dealers or people trafficking or whatever. Yes,
I'm very much
B2C.
Of the opinion that
you're going into a restaurant, takeaway, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, to buy something. Okay.
But
we're going to cover that now when we talk about.
We are, but personally, I'm of the opinion that if I'm not doing anything illegal, I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm not doing anything nefarious, then if somebody somewhere in government wants to sit and watch me buy a takeaway every other Tuesday, or and say, oh, he's back on Just Eat, I don't care.
But we're all different, aren't we? And some people like that freedom and that privacy. This is the whole thing about cameras, isn't it?
It is.
Big Brother watching you all over, and people say, oh, we've done nothing wrong. And I get that argument, and I buy into it to some extent. But I don't want my movements tracked. I just want to move freely in the state that I live in, without what people watching over me, even though I'm doing nothing wrong. And there are obviously pros and cons on both sides, which I see and hear.
But if you're unable to say exactly what's on your mind, then you're constrained by society's view of you. You're constrained by the government's view of what they think is right and appropriate. So you limit what you say. You're limited by what you can do because, and slightly off on a tangent here, but anything that is illegal that carries an inherent fine is legal for the rich. Let that sink in for a second. If it carries a fine, but it's illegal, It's not. It's legal for the rich because they don't care about the fine.
Of course they don't.
If it costs me 50 quid,
They can afford it.
I'm going to go, oh, I don't want to spend, Dad, I don't want to pay a fine. I'm not going to do it. If I've got, hundreds of millions in the bank, cost me 50 quid. Yeah, my convenience is worth more than that.
Yeah, I'll just park there.
I'll just park there and
I
pay
don't
the
care about
fine.
£50 fine or whatever it is.
So, that's... Yeah.
And most people aren't rich. So the rules are set for them. Let's not make any bones about that.
Yeah, the rules are set for the poor, not the rich, in that regard. So, and that's where we kind of go with why cash maybe not be where you want it to be because of that trail where you can audit it. And we will finish the more after the break. Assalamu alaikum.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Asr Azan. This Azan is sponsored by Park Foods. Come and see the difference.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا.
If you have an idea for a show and want to get involved, email info.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening, and welcome back to Wealth Made Simple. I'm your host, Kieran Bateman, and I'm here.
And Shaz Nawaz.
Good evening, Shaz.
Good evening, Kieran.
Good evening, everyone at home. Tonight,
Or in their car, or at work.
or just generally on their phones, or streaming, or showing my age here, an internet cafe. Do they still exist?
I don't see many in this country, but I don't pay attention. But when I'm overseas, I tend to see they're a bit more popular.
Yeah, I used to go.
Depending on which country you go to.
I used to go to a gaming cafe because I couldn't afford a full gaming PC. And you could pay for some time on a proper gaming PC. That was good fun.
It worked, didn't
I
it?
enjoyed those. If you enjoyed those too, you can get in touch with the show. You can call us on 01733 602 133. You can text us on 07411 191 062. Or you can get in touch by commenting on any of the live streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or X. So lots of ways to get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. This week on Wealth Made Simple, we are talking about money and the cashless
And the
society.
extinction of money.
And the extinction of not the extinction of money, the extinction of cash. And I make that distinction because understanding what money is versus the value.
But most people perceive cash to remember.
Yes.
But yeah.
So why is cash so good? And we touched on it a bit.
So there's the privacy element.
Yeah, there's the privacy element of, I give you money, nobody else knows that we've exchanged money.
Yep.
There's accessibility.
Yes.
Not everyone has access to a bank account or a credit card or a debit card.
And some people don't want that for particular personal or religious reasons as well,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that.
we have to be mindful of that.
And also, if you're on severely low income, you don't want, you may choose not to be encouraged to spend the money willy-nilly because you don't have the money to spend, frivolously. So, but cash is accessible to everyone.
Yep.
Everyone can use cash. Everyone understands in this society the concept of, I give you a £5 note, you give me a hot dog.
Yeah.
Or a burger or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but also, really, really bizarre. This happened to me a few years ago. Just after the lockdowns, this happened. I was approached by someone asking for any spare change. And different people, different walks of life. Everyone has their burdens to bear. And I said, I'm really sorry, I don't carry cash. No sooner as the words left my mouth, whipped out a card reader. I was like, it's all right, I take card. I was like, now that's an entrepreneurial type of mindset right there.
Everywhere. I mean, you even put air in your car tires, vehicle tires. It's card now.
Yeah.
Most places that I've seen.
Yeah. It used to be free.
50 pence or whatever. Yeah. Card. So that just goes to show one particular example goes to show how far we've gone with this whole thing.
Yeah.
And as you've said, it's the most bizarre of places where you think they only take cash, some kind of a stall or wherever, okay, in a car boot sale or wherever, okay?
Yeah.
And not just in this country.
Around the world.
Yeah, I mean, we just see, we have random little, I don't know what you call them.
Kiosks?
Kiosks, yeah, like kiosks, but it's not,
Yeah.
where it's just
Pop-up
street,
stand.
yeah, you kind of street food, okay?
Yeah.
But you don't expect them to have card machines, but I haven't got any cash with you. Here you go. Just swipe here.
Yeah.
Contactless. And when I saw that initially, I was just asking, this is smart on their part.
Yeah, I mean, they're making it easy for you.
Because it's figured out. People are coming here saying, I don't have cash, so let's get some other option available that's going to get money from them.
Because people generally, once they've said no, people don't like saying no outright. And this is a psychology thing. And, Shaz, I'd like to give you, this pen. And I've got a bucket here and with some bits of paper in for you to write with that pen. But the bucket and paper is going to cost you, a £5. Sorry, I don't carry cash. I can't afford that right now. People don't like just saying, no, I don't want it. Just outright no, because they feel they're being rude. And I think that's particularly a
British thing.
British thing. But just saying no. People don't like doing it, so they make up an excuse. And even if that excuse is true, sorry, I don't carry cash. That's all right. I've got a card machine. Now, what are you going to say? Well,
I don't remember my pin or whatever. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and the more people take away your excuses, the more you feel pressured into handing over your card
Or giving them the real reason.
or giving them the real. Yeah,
Oh, just being polite. I don't want that.
yeah. But it's
Yeah.
interesting that the majority of people, when startled like that, I'm like, sorry, I don't carry cash. It's all right, I take card. Oh, well, all right. And you'd be amazed at the number of people that
Once
will
pushed
back
the
down
idea.
and they don't want that uncomfortableness,
Yeah.
so they'll just scan the contactless.
It's only a
Right.
fiver, pay
It's only
it.
a fiver,
move on.
pay it, move on. Yeah, exactly
Yep,
that.
so accessibility.
Yeah. Cash is resilient, and this is something that I personally feel is I don't want to say a massive danger, but if you go back a couple of weeks to when we discussed AI,
Artificial intelligence, yeah.
yep, and the rapid growth that potentially has, and how people can use it and utilize it. What we currently have and this is what a lot of cryptographers are worried about in terms of quantum computing, is the speed at which you can crack encryption. Banks have some of the best encryption in the world. They have to. It's where your money is.
Yep.
It's all ones and zeros, though, fundamentally.
Yep.
It's all ones and zeros. The wrong person, the right person, however you want to view it, with access to the right level of equipment, the right level of technology,
We'll crack it.
will crack it, and they'll turn all those ones and zeros into nothing.
Yep.
That's possible if it's all digitized. I'm not saying it's going to happen. There are redundancies in redundancies.
Yeah, and high level security.
So I'm not trying to scare anyone. That's not my objective here. But I'm just pointing out that if it's numbers on a screen, it's ones and zeros in a computer somewhere.
Could all be gone.
It could all be gone. Whereas in times of crisis, cash, there's a power outage. You can't go to the cash point.
So that's accessibility and control, because when you got the cash, you're in control of it. Whereas in a bank, obviously, depending on how much it is, and I'm not saying keep 100 grand at home, by the way, you know what I mean? But whatever amount you've got with you, you've got direct control over, haven't you, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got access to it and control over it. And the bank, you don't have that control.
Yeah. And now...
And people like control and access.
Yeah, completely. And now the next thing is both a blessing and a curse, and I'm going to fork it. So go down two different paths. The first one is, if you look at the pure numbers, in the USA in 2021, there were over $30 billion worth of fraudulent card transactions. 30 billion. That they are aware of, there was only 100 million fraudulent cash transactions. And I say that they were aware of because
30 times as much. Sorry, 3 billion, 30 billion.
30 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's astronomical, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually astronomical. But there's an audit trail, so we can track it. We know that. Cash, there's less of an audit trail. How much of it was caught? So there was 100 million of it caught, is what that actually says. Not there was only 100 million in circulation. Just to be very clear, and this is why I said I was going to go down a forked path, because you've got to weigh up the reality of the situation.
With the information we have to hand, that's right.
Yeah. So in that sense, when you look at it on those numbers, it can help prevent fraud. If you can look at it in another way, it can help with fraud because it's harder to trace.
Yes.
So
misappropriation.
Yeah. Swings and roundabouts there, but two sides of the same coin, as it were. And I just thought, it was worth mentioning both sides. So cash promotes inclusion. And I know we said it's accessible, but it's also inclusive. You know, it doesn't matter where you go, people understand cash. You know, you can go to, you know, the middle of Central America from the UK, and you know, they'll understand cash. They'll understand that transfer of wealth through cash, through a physical means.
And pretty much anywhere you go, the US dollar is
Understood.
the main means of exchange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Other currencies are too, but that's the main one.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think we should necessarily get rid of cash, you know, per se, but I do think we are heading that way, whether we want to or not.
Okay, let's look at cashless then.
But now,
Or less cash.
less
Okay,
cash.
okay.
Yeah. Cash is slow. And it takes time to permeate to where it needs to be. It doesn't, you know, if I go to a shop,
So it's not as efficient.
yeah, it's not as efficient. I go to a shop and they say, that'll be £5.20. Okay, beep. Would you like a receipt for that set? No, I'm all right, thanks. Move on. Okay, cool. That'll be £5.20. Okay, here's five. There's a pound or the odd 20. You know, especially if it's not an exact amount.
Or £6 or £5.50 and give me
Yeah.
some change up until.
Yeah, open it.
Yeah.
There's extra steps involved.
Mhm.
Um,
And it's slower then.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it takes more time, and especially when you're dealing with larger transactions. You know, if you wanted to, you know, for example,
Being in a supermarket,
yeah, be in a supermarket and you've got a
and if you're
200, 300 pound.
self checkout, you're paying by card, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. But if you've got a trolley, you know, £200-300, that and £200 or £300 for a family of five isn't unreasonable.
No,
You know, that's not an unreasonable
no,
amount.
it's not. Yeah, that's a weekly amount.
Yeah. So, and you want to pay that on cash? Think of the time that takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, oh, put your card in, beep, 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 done. Go home. And that's what you want. So,
But then I guess that limits you in terms of your credit rating and all that other stuff that they want you
Yeah.
to adhere to. But if you've got the cash and you got access to it, you can
but
spend it as you please.
But didn't we work out once? I mean, this, and we are going back, you know, a couple of years, that my credit rating is actually better than yours, yet you're much further along than I am in your journey.
That might have been the case 2 years ago, but I changed it since.
Yeah. But it was interesting that
Yeah,
even though at that
'Cause
time,
I got to work on it. You see.
yeah,
And-
I'd just bought a house, hadn't I? I'd just completed on
yeah,
my
you had-
property.
and then I think I was on 742 points at the time with
Yeah.
Experian, and then I started looking at it, and this is the power of focus.
Focus. Yeah.
And then I think about 10 months ago or something, Kieran, I had a perfect score of 999.
Oh.
And I've maintained it. But you got to do certain things.
Yeah.
Link stuff and have this and have that and have
I'm
that.
working towards
Okay.
that. I'm still working
and,
towards that.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I'm not sure 999 is brilliant because it opens a lot of doors for you. You're going to start getting more cards and more credit. And you may end up being reckless if you're not disciplined and get in debt and everything spirals down. So that is another downside.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah.
I mean, I say another, that's a downside which we haven't talked about. With cash, obviously, there's less of that.
Yeah. However, with cash, there is more chance of theft. And I'm tying this back into fraud. We're not talking fraud here.
Yeah.
We're talking theft. If somebody comes up to you and picks your wallet, you know, that takes the cash out of your wallet,
Gone.
gone. Prove to me that's your cash. Somebody picks your wallet, takes your card out and swipes it, you can go to your bank and go, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
There's an audit trail.
And you got
You've got
protection, yeah.
protections and securities in place. So, you know, cash is less traceable.
Yeah.
And here's one of the big ones that,
So not as secure and less traceable, yeah.
it's also less sustainable
Hmm.
because cash has to be made. You know, it doesn't grow on trees. You don't have a cash
You
tree.
got to print it.
You've got to print it. You know,
And it gets old and you got to change it.
change
and
it, reprint
there's
it,
a cost
update it.
The cost involved, yeah.
And there is a cost involved in printing money. There is a cost involved in making money, because those metal coins don't get mined out of the earth as metal coins, do they? They have to be made. Now, who pays for that?
We do.
Yeah, inevitably, the consumer pays for everything.
Yep.
The bank says they want to put another £20 million in £5, £10 and £20 notes into circulation. Well, some of your tax is getting paid
to the mint. Yep.
To the mint to produce that amount of cash. When we changed from paper notes to plastic notes,
I hate those notes.
I do too.
Yeah. Paper ones are nice, weren't they?
There was something
easy to count as well.
There was something nice about having paper folded.
Yeah, these ones don't even fold properly.
No.
Yeah. Easy to lose.
Yeah, but they wash extremely well.
They do. Yeah.
But that's
happened to me a few times. Yeah.
But that's the thing. But also, plastic is a petrochemical.
Yeah.
We're in a world that's worried about global warming. Well, maybe we should ditch the cash because you're putting more plastic into society. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Helps.
Then there's, of course, when you're looking at cash and fluidity of transfers, when was the last time you bought a property with cash?
I never bought a property with cash.
It's always bank transfers and digital, isn't it? Yeah. And it has been that way for a long, long time. I mean,
but I remember the days when people used to take cash to a solicitor, say, "Here's my deposit of £3,000 or whatever." I'm talking about when houses were cheap, okay? And you just pay the solicitor, and then the solicitor you go and bank that cash in their account.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Yeah, and I mean,
and it wasn't that long ago.
No, I mean, I think people do forget sometimes that, and when they say houses were cheaper back then, yes, they were, but the value of everything was lower back then, and the salaries were lower back then. Yeah,
that's right. But I think we talked about ease of accessibility. They've done the same as we talked earlier with credit cards, with mobile payments. We talked about Apple Pay, Google Pay. Contactless. It makes it easier, quicker. You don't need to put your PIN, because I mean, you and I remember full well. You went to put fuel in your car, and you remember you had to swipe your credit card.
Yeah.
They used to print a piece of paper. You used to sign that. Remember?
It.
And the queue used to get longer and longer and longer. Do you remember?
Do you remember when? And this is a very real thing, and it's something that I'm sure a lot of people will remember. When the connection went down,
I know,
and the card, and they had that big metal brick.
Yes.
And two pieces of crepe paper, printer paper, and shunk. And they're taking imprint of your card.
Yeah.
And we were okay with that.
We were, and then chip and pin came with a wonderful idea.
What a wonderful idea!
And look where we are now, step by step.
Step by step, we've moved further and further away.
And then you obviously, with that, you've got the advent of online banking, like you said, and online shopping.
Yeah.
Which has made you put their credit card details in there, and obviously Bezos and Amazon figured that quicker than everybody else. Less clicks to buy stuff, the more they're going to buy, because there's less pain and hassle, because people want everything done so quickly. So we stick your credit card in here, we'll save it, and we'll just, as long as you're not changing the delivery address, they're just 1-2 clicks and off you go.
Yeah.
I think all of those things have made, or they've sped up the use of credit cards and reduced the use of cash.
And I think one of the biggest contributors to the speed of, I think we were on track to going cashless anyway, and it would have
taken longer.
But it would have taken longer. But
the
then,
high street disappeared.
But then bang, COVID-19.
Yeah, that is
And
that speeded up even more.
That has exponentially sped up the move to cashless.
Yeah. It has, that's right.
There's no two ways about it. Yeah. Don't touch each other. Don't stand too close to each other.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the machine there. You can hover your card near it.
And more people became comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I mean, Just Eat and Uber Eats, all the other companies, Deliveroo, but crazy, didn't they?
Yeah, really did.
During that particular period. and people are still now paying for that service.
Yeah.
And then they're paying more for the food and the service.
I mean, I remember.
It's convenience.
Oh,
And we talked about this previously. if you
we
remember.
have talked about this previously, but it baffles me because I remember as a kid, having a menu, and you'd have a drawer full of menus, and you'd ring the pizza restaurant and get them to deliver it.
Yes.
You'd ring,
Yeah, over £5, £7.50, whatever.
the Chinese restaurant. You'd ring the Indian restaurant. You never got, and I think this is the key difference. You never got fast food to your door, but you got takeaway food to your door.
Yeah.
And I think people now have merged the two, because when I was growing up, McDonald's was fast food. It wasn't good for you. You know it wasn't good for you. You got it once in a blue moon, and that was it. And you occasionally had a birthday party at McDonald's, and that was great. And then or you went to Burger King. But again,
Wimpy.
Oh yeah, Wimpy.
Mm.
Wimpy was great.
Little Chef.
Yeah. But these were fast food restaurants. They weren't takeaway food restaurants. Whereas an Indian, a Chinese restaurant had a takeaway option.
Yes, that's right.
But you had to ring the restaurant directly. You couldn't just load it up on an app.
Didn't exist, did it?
You know. But I mean, genius piece of marketing, is put it all in one place, have it all in one app. But if I can you still ring a restaurant, or will they tell you to go to Just Eat?
You can ring a restaurant, and if you say, I don't have any cash on me, and can you text me the payment link? They text you a payment link. You click that, and you make your card payment. I mean, how easy can it get?
Yeah.
So what are the advantages of having a cashless society?
Well, as we alluded to earlier, there's less chance of theft. So someone steals your wallet, they don't get your cash. And if it's coded to your phone, your watch, well, I mean, I've got a card that isn't an actual card, as you know.
Yeah.
And that's connected to an app on my phone, and it has all of my other cards in it.
Yeah.
So if somebody steals my wallet, oh no, I've lost my wallet. Okay, freeze the card, done.
Job done, yeah.
And that's every single one of my accounts safe straight away.
And I think one of the big reasons is using credit cards is convenient, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speeds things up, it's easy, and with change of habits, people like it. The taxman likes it.
Yeah.
The taxman hasn't liked cash. They are more likely, they were still are more likely to investigate cash-rich businesses. Because cash can easily become misappropriated,
Manipulated.
VAT not paid, okay, income tax not paid, corporation tax not paid, okay, NIC, whatever else, okay, turned over £5,000 a day, only declared 1,000. Okay, whereas card, like you said earlier, there's a very clear
Audit trail.
Yeah, and then of course with that, the people who have access to your credit card, whereas American Express or somebody else can look at your habits, demographics, psychographics, what are they shopping, where are they shopping, where they live, how old
Targeting,
are they, what are they doing,
advertising.
Now we've got so much data on this person here, and allow other companies or ourselves to target them and sell stuff to them, because we know Kieran buys a certain type of newspaper, believes in certain things and values, okay, whether it's left of centre, right of centre, whatever it is, okay, looking at everything else you do, okay, they know what to pitch to you, okay, and what's going to work.
Yeah.
Because they know how your mindset works, the psychographics, how you think, how you behave, how you make decisions, and then demographics, your age, where you live, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's that comes back to the cash privacy thing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's like if you ever, slight tangent here, but if you ever go see an advert for a game on your mobile phone, right, and you see, the advert shows somebody playing that game really, really badly. Do you know why that is?
Why?
It's because people are far quicker to want to prove you wrong than they are to agree with you.
Of course they are.
Yeah, and it's a psychology trick. They're showing you someone playing it badly so that you go, I can do that better, I'm going to download the game.
course.
And that's the psychology of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the same with knowing your spending habits, knowing what you look at, knowing what you're interested in, your YouTube viewer history.
Yeah,
that all ties
but
in together.
Exactly, and that's the next point I wanted to make. Is it gives you transparency and makes things efficient, but also it helps you improve your financial tracking, because who's going to list all the cash transactions they've made? You're not, most likely. But with your credit card, it's still there. You can track them. What have I done? Where am I spending? Where can I reduce? So there's a lot to be said about a cashless society. Even though I would say I'm not 100% an advocate, because I like to give people choice.
I think choice is a good thing. I think inevitably we will end up as a cashless society. I think everyone will be scanning in the future, especially the next generation or the generation after. But I do think that cash has a certain quality that I would be sad to see lost. But I think it's inevitable. And on that note, that's all we've got time for. So I will see you all this same time, same place next week for another show.
Until
of
then.
Well
Stay
Made Simple.
tuned to
Bye-bye.
Salam Radio after this.